Quitting your job is not always the right move. And I'm not out here assuming that Gen Z is all just ready to up and leave their job at any given point in time. However, 3 out of every 10 workers plan to leave their job this year. And you should consider the facts when making this choice yourself. So, keeping everything simple, let's talk about the potential of another great resignation. Welcome back to the Keeping Everything Simple podcast. I'm your host and fellow student Michael Klukas, and on this show, we boil down complicated topics into simple and actionable tips. So, setting this all up here, is quitting your job worth it? We're just diving straight in here because it is an important question to have and to consider when actively wondering, are you going to make this big life decision? Because it is a bigger life decision, both where you're going to work, but then also if you choose to leave your job for XYZ reason. So we're going to dive into a couple of my first couple of thoughts here. So is quitting your job worth it overall? So honestly, every 2 to 3 years, if you are leaving your job and negotiating up in a higher salary, higher position, and just continuing to level up your career that way, on average, throughout the length and lifetime of your career, you're going to actually earn more than someone who stays in one role with one company for forever and just goes through the ladder. Now, this is all based off of, again, an average. So there are some people who will greatly outpace that average. So maybe they're in a specialized field, maybe they are within the investment banking field, and so you know that they're going to be making a lot of money no matter what they do. They might be a nurse or a doctor and work in that kind of specialization, or they might be someone that just happens to strike it good and build a company that, puts them in that higher earning bracket overall. But on average, again, it is every 2 to 3 years, you will be earning more because you have that negotiation power and the skill sets behind every single level that you're going through to say, okay, I've done this. Here's the project I've worked on. Here's the success I've had. So that's what helps you earn more over time. But again, that's just the average. And if you're starting out in your career, it's going to be a lot harder to negotiate that from the get-go, but it's not impossible. It's just something you have to recognize that if throughout the lifetime of your career you are still seeking new opportunities, then you're going to have a better bucket or a better chance at the end to earn more and support the lifestyle that you want to have. But along with quitting your job and is it worth it, then we have to remember that here in America, and this is one of the annoying parts of it, is the fact that our jobs are directly tied to our health and our ability to retire. Gone are the days of really good pensions and whatnot. Instead, we now have the individual focused retirement plans where we are in charge. We are supposed to make sure that we are planning for our retirement. We are supposed to be the ones that are making sure that we are getting all our health things done within the context of while we have insurance from our company. And that can be a very rough point because sometimes, say the health insurance isn't that great, or you get laid off and suddenly you're losing your health insurance and you're losing your sole source of income. And you're trying to make ends meet and you're trying to get all these things done, but your well-being and future prospects were tied to that job. I still remember from my first job that when I quit, I had, I think, $2,000 or something like that, if not more, in a 401k account with them. But when I'd left, I hadn't asked them, how am I going to get access to that to roll it over into like my personal retirement account? And so it's just sitting somewhere. It's just floating out in the ether. And I would like to get it back at some point, but it's one of those things that I learned now, okay, when moving jobs, you have to consider the aspects of, are you dotting all your I's, crossing all your T's, and making sure that if you have money saved away from the company, that you are rolling it over. If you are going to need any health appointments or checkups done, you're getting that done before your insurance runs out. And that's just something that you have to consider when thinking about leaving your job, because again, it's so inextricably tied to life here in America that it's a big decision no matter how you chop it up. And not only that, you have to then consider who else is impacted in your life from your decision to quit your job. If you are living on your own and it's just you, then okay, it's just you. But if you are in a relationship, then you have to consider, okay, how's my relationship going to be impacted by me looking for a job or me not working for an extended period of time? If you're married, same question. How's it going to look if your family relied on your sole source of income, or you were a dual income household? Maybe you were a dink, dual income, no kids. But you have to consider these aspects when making that decision. You have to have conversations with others of like, hey, maybe I shouldn't do that, or maybe I can do it, but we have to plan and have something else lined up. So when it comes to quitting your job and is it worth it, you have to just weigh these factors. Are you hoping to earn more in the next role and you have something lined up and you're hoping to jump into a different higher level? Are your job or your health and your retirement, how are they tied to your current role? And do you need to focus on maintaining those for a certain time or a certain season of life? And who else is impacted in your life? Is it just you? Is it a partner? Is it family? And having these questions be weighed in your mind first and foremost will help you determine, at least with a more accurate picture from the get-go, is quitting your job worth it? Because in some circumstances, it's not. And you will have to tough it out, or you actually aren't toughing it out, but you're just less enthused than you would like to be about the work. And that's also okay. That's part of, unfortunately, the current process as you try to then work your way into a better standing in that next level and in that next season. And real quick here, if you are watching this on YouTube and enjoying this so far, make sure you leave us a like, subscribe, ring that notification bell so you know every time I upload a new episode. If you're listening to us on Spotify or another podcast app of choice, make sure you leave us a 5-star rating and a follow. That helps me out so much. I really do greatly appreciate it. But with that, let's jump right back in. So the other question to consider here is, are you making the most of your current role? Now, again, not everyone's going to be in love with their job. Not everybody's going to feel like they're waking up chipper like SpongeBob and saying that today's going to be a great day and they just can't wait to go sling some burgers, which, no, I am not making fun of fast food workers. I'm making fun of SpongeBob. For the people that are working the retail jobs and the service jobs, I thank you. Been there, done that. I know it can get really rough, but you guys are helping be the backbone of the services that we love and enjoy on a day-to-day basis. So not making fun of those guys. But the question again is, are you making the most of your current role? And that's something that you have to consider, because are you working through the foundations of, or are you working through the points of foundation, accumulation, or creation? Now, this is my variation to, I'm just doing a lot of shuns in the bound of this, but this is my variation to the, are you learning, earning, or growing? Because in the foundational stage, you are trying to put the right pillars in place so that way you can build up from there and actively, again, lead a career that you love and lead a life that you love and actively have it be meaningful and mindful. And then from there, the accumulation is you are now starting to build out the levels. So you have the pillars, the foundations are in place, you are building out the levels, and you are collecting the materials that you need to then do it again and keep building your castle, building your tower. And then the creation is, as you grow and level up, then it is, how are you giving things out? How are you providing, value to other people in your life? How are you creating something new? How are you creating change? And so within your current role, you have to consider, what level are you at? Are you at the foundational level? Is this your entry level? Is this your junior level job where you are trying to get some foot in the door so that way you can get to that next role in the next year or two here and try to accelerate your career path? Are you in the level of accumulation where you have the skills and you're in that more senior role now, but you can't quite get to that next level yet? So you're trying to accumulate as many skills as possible, as many wins under your belt as possible, so that way when the opportunity presents itself, you'll be ready. Or are you in the creation phase where you are at the uppermost of your senior positions? You are now creating projects for other people to have opportunities to grow in, or creating projects for the company to take on initiatives for them to work in. Or in your personal life, are you trying to find some way of creating value there from your job? And that's just the 3 seasons that make sense in terms of leveling up consistently over time, but they are done within the current role. So you have to, again, ask, are you making the most of your current role within those 3 seasons? And then from there, are you making the most of the benefits that you currently have with your company as well? So that just goes beyond the healthcare, but maybe there is gym memberships. Maybe there is specific medical checkups or medical partnerships that they have. Maybe there's counseling that they have and offer, because your mental health is just as important as your physical health, in case you're wondering. But are you taking the benefits that are being offered and actively using them and bettering your life? Maybe that is continuing education. Maybe it's going back to school because they offer you some reimbursement, or they offer you some stipends to actively level up your career and at the same time level up your education, because that will help you in the future as well. And when you actually make the most of those kind of side benefits that you get with the job, then you're going to be able to level up with more intention within your personal life and within your career. And so that is part of making the most of your current role, is actively using all the benefits possible to better your life. And the important question then also becomes, are you able to level up into a role that you want? So is there opportunity? Is there career prospects that you are interested in and looking forward to within the current job? So like I said earlier, you might have that junior level role that you're just trying to get your foot into the door with, and you're trying to just try it out and see, is this the job you want to have? Is this the career path you want to have? Or is there a different branch within the company that you might be more interested in? But if you are able to level up to the role that you want, then you're in a good spot. It's going to take a little bit of work and a little bit of grinding it away, but at the same time, you know that there is that larger goal at the end there, because it's going to get you to the position that you are looking forward to. And making the most of your current role is then like, how can I take on side projects? How can I take on different responsibilities that prepare me for that role, and at the same time show that I am ready for that role when it becomes available? Because when you're making the most of your current role, it's not that you are not putting your best foot forward every single time, but instead it is just making sure that you are prepared and creating opportunities and being ready to seize them when they actually do present themselves to you. But with all this, it does bring the question of, when is the right time to quit and move on? So the first 2 questions are, is it worth it to quit your job? And then, are you actually making the most of your current role? But what if you actually do need to quit? What then? Well, a couple of things. Sometimes it's not quitting that you need to do, it's a lateral move. So you might be in HR at your company, or you might be in payroll, and you're trying to get out of that field, and maybe you want to then lean into more of the accounting side, the business accounting, or maybe you want to work with project development and be a project manager. You have to be able to then say, okay, it's less of me trying to quit this job. Maybe a position opened up and you want to get into that position within your current company already. Then it's less about quitting and more about, how can I talk to the right people and get the right game plan in place, so that way when the opportunity is ready, I can jump into it. Sometimes, yes, it is a matter of, okay, there's no upward mobility here at this current company. The ability to get promoted into the role I want isn't going to happen for another 5 years, because the person that's in that position wants to stay there and there's not another branch being created. Then yeah, it makes sense to leave. But in other opportunities, if it's a larger company and a larger group, then sometimes it's less about, I need to quit and go try something else. It's a matter of, I need to change teams and get into a different role in a different position, so that way I can learn something new, test the waters, but still maintain the current lifestyle benefits and everything else that comes with having a secure job that still puts you on a path that could be what you want to do in the future. Another question becomes then, is it worth it, or is it really the right time to quit and move on when you have a certain lifestyle goal or financial goal that you're trying to take or trying to get to? And sometimes that does require that leap of faith. Sometimes it does require that you are getting that promotion or getting ready to promote into another level, into another role. And you shouldn't do it for the sole reason of, I just need to make more money because I want more money. There should still be a deeper purpose and a deeper reason behind it. Because if you are just trying to chase as much money as possible, then yeah, there's certain fields you can go into that are going to give you that goal so much easier than just job hopping through the rest of your life. So you have to then ask yourself, well, is there a financial goal that I'm trying to hit and I need to earn more to make this goal happen easier? Is there a certain lifestyle that I want to lead that this job doesn't afford me, but another job would, like that company car or relocation efforts and whatever else? Asking those questions will help you determine, okay, is it actually the right time to quit and move on then? Or is it a matter of waiting it out and creating, again, opportunities so that way the next time you're able to actually take a substantial step forward, you're prepared. But again, I emphasize it can't just be for the fact that you want to make more money just because you want money for the sake of it. But instead, it needs to have some purpose and serve you in a way and serve others in a way that actively betters everything around you. Rather than just saying, okay, I want to say I make six figures. It's, okay, I want to make six figures because that will allow me to support my current lifestyle and allow my partner the opportunity to either stay home or to pursue their passion and their careers with a wholehearted devotion. It's just, it needs to have a purpose behind it, and it can't just be for the sake of it itself. I said this in my last week's video about there's no suffering for the sake of suffering that gets you really anywhere. And in this instance, it's the same thing. You can't have just a goal for the sake of the goal and not have it lead to something else afterwards, because once you hit it, then you kind of lose all drive and all purpose behind it. And another reason where it might actually be the right time to move on or quit is because opportunities are stagnant. And that might happen in smaller companies or a company that is limiting its hiring and expansion because they're trying to improve their processes and their systems. But that means that there's not a lot of upward action happening because people aren't getting promoted up there. So that means you're kind of stuck where you're at, and people aren't really leaving the company either. So that's another barrier to actually getting into the next role. Because if you're considering it kind of like a funnel, then the people at the top have to move out of the way and out of their roles for someone else to move into their roles. And that might happen from new branches opening up. It might happen from companies being acquired and new teams being formed. But at the end of the day, if nothing is changing and no one is moving, then you're going to have a hard time finding opportunities for yourself as well. So in those instances, it makes sense to, if you've already poked the bear a little bit and asked, hey, is there any opportunity for growth that I can do within the next year here and not within the next 3 to 5 years here, and you're getting nothing, you're getting crickets, then yeah, it's probably a good indicator that it's a good time to start looking at other companies and considering your options of, okay, if I can't get into this role here, I know this company or this competitor is hiring for this position because they're still growing and they're still expanding operations. So how can I get an interview and get into that spot over there? Because again, if people love the company but need a certain level of, financial or lifestyle supported to them or provided them, and you're trying to learn, you're trying to level up within your career, but there's just not a chance opening up to you, you have to be able to take the risk and make that opportunity once you've weighed all the correct factors. So I encourage you to sit back and really ask yourself, is this the right time to take this leap? Is this something that only impacts me? Is there a reason that I want to do this? Is my current role going to provide me with chances to learn? Is my current company offering me benefits to grow and develop outside of my job? So again, education stipends or whatever it is. And then consider all the benefits and the positives of where you're currently at. And then if the benefits and the positives of choosing a new role and attempting to leave a company make more sense, then yeah, I encourage you to pursue it. But if it doesn't, then I encourage you to make the most of where you're currently at, because if you're always looking for the next best thing, you're never going to be satisfied with what you do have. You're never going to be grateful enough for where you currently are at, because you're always going to be wondering what if and what's next. I know that from personal experience because I've done that so often in my own life to say, wow, I can't wait to do the next thing. I can't wait to do that. I can't wait to get there. And I forget to actually appreciate the fact that I have a job. I appreciate the fact that I have benefits. I'm able to provide well for myself. I'm able to provide well to my household with my wife. But it's so important that we don't neglect that sometimes it is time to move on, and other times you need to dig in and start working on the accumulation phase of your career and of your life. So that way you can get to the next level as well. So I encourage you, consider that before making a rash decision. But sometimes if there's no ability to move, you're not getting a chance to learn, maybe it truly is a toxic workplace, then yeah, it might be time to jump ship there. But you have to weigh all the factors before making these big decisions. But with that, if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you watch us on YouTube. If you're listening to us on a Spotify or another podcast app of choice, make sure you leave us a 5-star rating, give us a follow, so that way you know every time we upload a new episode. But with that, keeping everything simple, have an amazing day, you amazing people, and I will see you all in the next episode. Make sure to go out there and do great things.